everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to a review for WWE Monday Night Raw 25th anniversary. So, let's waste no time here getting right to introductions. So yeah, I've been a WWE slash professional wrestling fan since 1994, so 24 years, almost a quarter century now. Yeah, so obviously I've seen WWE and some great moments and some not good moments. Joining me, we have the man 0001, who was the fight coordinator for my upcoming short film Battle of Deception. So, the man 0001, let the audience out there know how long you've been a fan of WWE.
Hello, friends. This is the man 0001. I've been a wrestling fan for 25 years now. Coming up this April, and my first event was WrestleMania 9. I went there as a child, as a 3-year-old child. That was my first ever introduction to professional wrestling, and that's my first ever introduction to professional wrestling shows and anything surrounding professional wrestling. And and a lot of people give that show a lot of crap, and they say, "Oh my gosh, it's such a show." But for me, it's a positive thing because it can only get better from that point forward.
And next we have Matt Dillingham, who's a very close personal friend of ours. Let the audience know how long you've been a WWE wrestling fan.
Well, I've been a fan of WWE and professional wrestling for as long as I can remember. I remember when I was a child watching WWF with my family, growing up into it. Just nostalgic of it, growing up watching wrestling really impressed my life because I would watch it so much that I just don't. Wrestling is just something I do naturally now is watch wrestling. So it's something that I can see myself doing forever, and I love wrestling.
So yeah, there you have it. So as you can see, we are basically '90s babies. So and being big fans of wrestling, we've gone back and watched either some or in the man 0001's case, lots of
Yep.
the
And in
'80s.
my case, I'm also I'm a late '80s baby.
Yeah, technically, yeah. He was born in the late, very last year of the '80s. But with that said in mind, we are all here to discuss the 25th anniversary of the show. So let's start out. Now, I actually came in on the part where Stephanie and Shane were in the ring, but I understand before that, I'll let you fill in what was happening first, and then we'll get into the opening segment. Go ahead, man 0001.
WWE Monday Night Raw's 25th anniversary show started off with Jerry the King Lawler and Jim Ross giving introductions to the show at the Manhattan Center before transitioning over to the Barclays Center.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool. I mean, like, shoot, since we all grew up watching WWE in the '90s, it
Hmm.
was really cool to see just it all back right there in the Manhattan Center, and man, they just made everything look like really like nostalgic. Everything looked just like as if it was back then. Just it's in high definition now, so I really enjoyed seeing that. Did it bring back good memories for you guys? I imagine too, right?
Mm,
Oh yes, most definitely.
yeah, for me, it brought back good memories for me. 'Cause, that was, the same year Monday Night Raw came out as the same year I started watching professional wrestling. So for me, my first ever Raw was the Monday Night Raw following WrestleMania 9.
Hmm.
And I got to watch that show, and I got to enjoy it, and it was an amazing experience, from a child standpoint. I mean, I'd probably go back there and watch it now and probably be nostalgic for it, but also, if I'm trying to compare it to anything else in the future, I'd probably be like, yeah, this shit looks severely outdated. But you know, but
Sure.
going back and
Truly, it's nostalgic, and that's actually that's my main whole thing with this show is I said on my personal Facebook that it was a nice nostalgic show, nothing more, nothing less, and personally for me, I enjoyed it for what it was. And that's what this show is all about, nostalgia. And we're going to break that down. So let's begin with the very first segment. We have Stephanie and Shane McMahon in there. And they basically are showing a nice, wonderful video package, which was really awesome. It was great going down memory lane, seeing all those great moments. And then we have, they introduce Vince McMahon out, and, you know, Vince is giving thanks. And it's a really nice moment. And then we get from Vince McMahon to Mr. McMahon, and he's just basically ragging on the crowd. He's doing the Vince McMahon voice that we've all grown to know and love so much. And, you know, it's talking about how nobody owes him anything. And man, you know what? I felt like I was an 8-year-old kid again because, oh man, when that glass shattered, I'm telling you, I jumped off my couch and I'm jumping all in the air with my fists in the air. My feet are in the air. I'm just going nuts. When that glass shatters, you hear the Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is my all-time favorite superstar. He is the reason why I am hooked on professional wrestling to this day. My all-time favorite. So it's always great to see Stone Cold Steve Austin come down there with that BMF walk and just the sheer power he has over the crowd. He did not say one word, and these people went nuts. And that's the type of star power that I miss. That's the type of stars I wish WWE would make that they have. I wish they would give the superstars those type of freedoms that Steve Austin had to really make themselves into big stars. But it was great seeing the old tricks where he stuns. They got Stephanie out of there because, you know, nowadays with the PG and WWE being very politically correct. Because on the 15th anniversary, Stone Cold stunned the entire McMahon family. So Stephanie got out of here. I got your on
the 15th. No, that wasn't.
Was
the
it?
15th
It wasn't the 15th
anniversary.
anniversary. Was it? Which
No,
one
that
was
was Raw. That was Raw Homecoming.
Right, Raw Homecoming. My fault. Yeah, it was a Raw Homecoming.
You're off by a few years.
Raw Homecoming. Hey, thank you, man. See, he's the historian here, so that's why we got him. Thank you. But yeah, it was the Raw Homecoming. But I remember that where he stunned the whole McMahon family. So it was just Shane and Stephanie. So he stuns Shane McMahon, and Shane always did a tremendous job at selling the Stone Cold Stunner, and then he stunned. It took a while. They got the old hugging in there, if we all remember that heel turn in 2001, they really milked that hug, but we knew what was coming. Did the Stone Cold Stunner on Vince
somewhere, somewhere in the back, Bailey shed a tear when she saw that.
and then Vince McMahon, much props to Vince McMahon. We have obviously the way he books WWE behind the scenes. I know there's a lot of us fans that have been disappointed, but the man himself as a performer, over 70 years old and still taking bumps, even if it's a Stone Cold Stunner. That was pretty awesome for old time's sakes. And it was just great seeing Stone Cold and the crowd going wild and him doing the beer and all that stuff. Just like, man, there is nothing like it. That is tremendous. 21 years after Stone Cold Steve Austin, the whole phenomenon started. Just the fact that he can come out here, not even say a word, just do a few stunners and drink some beer, and that crowd goes crazy. Tremendous. So I like I said, as a nostalgia, it was awesome. It would have been nice to hear Stone Cold Steve Austin talk. It would have been nice to see where he would go like, "Give me all hell yeah," or "That's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so." It would have been cool to hear all that stuff. I know that's not a really good impression of him, but oh man, it just always hyped to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that's why I had a lot to say there, because obviously I'm marking out incredibly Stone Cold Steve Austin, my favorite all-time wrestler. I'll give you, the man 0001, and Matt, I'll give you guys the floor to go ahead and talk about this segment.
Well, I'll lead in next. The segment right here was very nostalgic. You got Shane McMahon out there. You got Stephanie getting the hell out of Dodge real quick. She pretty much pulled a road runner. As soon as I saw her, she was like, meet, shoo. And then you had then after you have Stephanie McMahon, she pulled a road runner. She got out of there, and then you have, basically Vince McMahon offering up his firstborn child to to this beastly man known as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
He's in his prime.
He's in his
prime. Yeah. But yeah,
Mother Nature, you look good, but Mother Nature has not been kind to me. I've got arthritis.
But yeah, you got Vince McMahon basically offering up his firstborn child to be stunned, and he got stunned, and then Vince thought he was going to be safe. After approximately 21 years being on the product, 21 years later, it seems that Vince still hasn't learned that lesson. DTA, don't trust anyone. I mean, you gotta understand. And not to deviate off of it. Speaking of nostalgic moments on Raw, I got the chance to watch Stone Cold forfeit the Intercontinental title to The Rock. And one of the favorite moments I ever saw on Raw, 25 years in Raw, is when that happened, when The Rock, obtained the Intercontinental Championship from Stone Cold Steve Austin, and from that point, he was like, "Yeah, come on, trust me, it's on the up and up." And then The Rock was happy to be Intercontinental Champion. Stone Cold Steve Austin laid into him with a stunner.
Classic.
And then he told him, "DTA, don't trust anyone." But yeah, back on topic. But yeah, it shows how WWE, expects us to have a short memory. And I'm like, how the hell do y'all expect us to have a short memory on a nostalgia show? Come on now.
Right.
Come on now. Where are you? Where are your head? Where's your head at? I mean, but we already know where their head is. It's up. It's up there. Let's say ASS, if you will. That's where their heads are. Some of those people. Let's see.
And Matt, and do you have anything you like to add about this opening segment before we move on?
The opening segment was very well done, I would say. Like as you mentioned in the beginning with the montage of just 25 years throughout Raw's history, then they introduced their own video before Vince came out. It all, I would say, was very good. Really no kind of critique at all because that's what fans want. They wanted Stone Cold to come out, and they had Stone Cold start the show to kick it off. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, and I also admit, Stone Cold Steve Austin looked in tremendous shape too. He looked like he could get in the ring and go if he wanted to. But that's one of the things you know. As much as I would love to see Stone Cold Steve Austin, especially since I didn't go to the shows until starting around Ruthless Aggression era, would have always loved to see Stone Cold Steve Austin compete live. But I totally respect his decision. You go out against the most electrifying man in all of entertainment, The Rock. It's not a bad way to go out, and Austin. He is very critical of his work, and he wouldn't want to, as he stated many times on his podcast, he wouldn't want to go and stink out the joint. So a lot of respect for Stone Cold Steve Austin as a performer. But yeah, I mean, really, if you grew up in the Attitude Era fan, really, I don't see how you could not dislike that segment. So let's move on. So
like you said, he didn't say anything. It just came out, and everyone just lit up, and they heard that glass break.
So let's move on to the first match. We had Absolution in Nia Jax and Alicia Fox teaming up to take on Sasha Banks, Mickie James, Asuka, and Bayley. Now, I'm going to say this, much respect to all the women in there. And one of the things about Monday Night Raw is I feel like this match was way too long, and it went through 2 commercial breaks, and it was a lot of rest holds. There was some good stuff in there, but it's like, it's not going to be what we see at the pay-per-view. And I understand you don't want to go all out on the TV shows. You want to save the good stuff for the pay-per-view. But I felt like, especially for 3 hours, it felt like they were just kind of putting this match on just to fill up time. And that I felt like there wasn't a lot really accomplished with this until the very end. Like, after the second commercial break, that's like when they got to the good stuff and the women started brawling outside. And I forgot who was it that picked up the win? It was who was it?
It was Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks
over Alicia Fox.
She got
to the side.
The submission victory, right? Yeah. And
Banks stage match.
Yeah, and then after that, I thought the
Yeah.
cool part was they made Asuka look really strong when she threw out Bailey and Sasha. So it's really
And
good
Mickey
to
James.
the hyping. See, I must have missed that part. See, that's the thing. How much does this segment matter if I'm forgetting things like that? And I say that in all due respect, because I do respect the women athletes getting in there, and I love how far women's wrestling has been able to become in WWE. But I just felt like this match could have been not 2 minutes like we had to deal with for so many years, but just a little bit shorter and give some more time. But yeah, I just felt like this match was like really long and it didn't have to be that long. But that's my
Mhm.
thing. But I did like the end result. I like the way they made Asuka look. I'll go into Matt or the man 0001. Let you guys. What are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it's a match.
Right. That's kind of how
Pretty
my
simple,
sum of it
right?
is,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
match.
now that we're pushing for the
What
Women's
what
Royal
what
Rumble.
what I'll say is this. It's a match. It's basically just a link in the chain to try to put Raw's women over to the Royal Rumble. That's just basically what it is. But the match itself is just a match. It's
Right.
serviceable. You know what I mean? It's a basic, multi-women's, multi-men's, 8-person wrestling match. That's basically what it is.
Mhm.
What I mean? It kind of takes me back to about 2010, 2011. We
It,
always had them multi-person matches.
it was just there. But I will say the match I'm looking forward to the most is indeed the Women's Royal Rumble match this Sunday. So yeah, let's move on to the next part where we had the return of the Undertaker. Now, this is really cool for me and the man 0001. We actually went down to Orlando, Florida. We were there for WrestleMania 33. We were there live in attendance. We were probably about like a good 50 feet behind where they had all the announcers desks on the riser. So we got a pretty good seat. We were there for what we thought was the Undertaker's last match, and we were there what we thought was his retirement. All powerful segment. Just everybody in the ring giving nothing but respect to the Undertaker. So it was really cool to be a part of that. So it's cool to see Undertaker here. Now they've said he was in really good shape since his hip surgery, and he looked to be in excellent shape. So definitely Undertaker did not look beaten and, and battered down like the way
Right.
Elias said. So I will definitely say that. And the thing here is cool seeing him in the Manhattan Center. Now this is going to be a nitpick, but I know I'm not the only one who noticed this. You notice
Mhm.
they did not turn off the lights for Undertaker, yet they did for
Yeah.
Braid Wyatt and DX. And I was like, I guess when I saw Undertaker coming out without the lights turned off, I'm like, oh, I guess because it's a small arena they can't change it. Because when I saw the Undertaker at a house show in a small arena, they couldn't turn the lights off. So I'm like, oh, okay, it must be one of those type of things. So I'm like, what the heck? That's just weird, right? I know it's a nitpick, but that's what Undertaker's entrance is known for. So I
Mhm.
have a couple of the quotes he said where he said something like, the carnage began on the sacred ground of evil 25 years ago. I declare for all those who have fallen, it is truly time to rest in peace. Basically just saying that. And so here's my thing about this segment. It was cool, and I didn't think much of it because I'm pretty sure a lot of us that follow like spoilers and everything online, we've heard about the talk that he'll challenge John Cena. And that was one of the biggest things that was
Yeah.
hyped up about this show is that there was heavily rumored that he might do something, a segment here, and then go over to the Barclays Center. So when he left, I'm thinking, okay, it sounded like even Jr. and King didn't know what to make of it, and I'm like, okay, I think Taker's gonna come out and probably call out Cena or later because I think most people who tuned into the show to see the Undertaker, they wanted to see was he going to retire or was he
Mhm.
going to announce his next WrestleMania opponent. And as we went on the show, we got none of that. And I've seen some feedback, and fans think, quite frankly, this was a waste of The Undertaker. Like, he just kind of came out and talked about what he's
Yeah.
done for 25 years of Raw and gave a very vague message that alluded to none of the reasons that we were probably tuning in to watch and see what he's going to do. And that was it. Now, granted, they'll probably do more with Taker moving forward, but it's like, it's like it was great to see the Undertaker, and I think one of the things, the themes of the show that I did have an issue is there wasn't a lot to build up for the future. It just really felt like they just put the nostalgia out there, but they didn't want to use the nostalgia acts to help elevate a lot of the young talent instead of, or newer talent, and instead for like there's one segment I did feel they kind of did that in, but other than that it's like it was great to see the Undertaker and that's it. So that's my take
Right.
on it. Yeah, let's go with you, the man 0001. Do you what was your take on this segment with the Undertaker, given once you actually watched the rest of the show and knowing this was just it?
When I watched that segment, it was just like, man, it's great to see the Undertaker there, and he talked about his accomplishments in the ring and everything, but at the same time, it's like, like what's going on? I mean, when the Undertaker's on TV, it usually means something. It usually means that there's something going to happen. This time
Right.
around, I felt like the Undertaker was just there to talk and collect a check, and
Man 0001, you still there? Hopefully we didn't lose him. You still there, Matt?
Yeah, still here.
Um, well, I don't know if we may have lost the man 0001, but I think he got the main point out. Matt, did you have anything that you like to add? What is your thoughts on the Undertaker segment? This is no doubt one of the biggest reasons that I think a lot of
Mhm.
people were tuning in for this show.
You know what? It's always good to see Taker, come to the ring and address the WWE fans. It's something that everyone looks forward to, especially around this time in WrestleMania. You think about the Undertaker, 'cause, you know, it's those matches at WrestleMania. But I feel like he was just there for that reason, like you said, because fans expect the Undertaker.
Hmm.
But I feel like he was there more for, to be there to make an appearance, just to help out for like ratings and stuff. And I'm not taking away from Undertaker. That's how big of a star he is. You mentioned Undertaker involved in something.
Hmm.
He's going to get a lot of eyes on him. So I feel like that really was the reason why he was there more than anything. Like you said, he didn't give any kind of indication that he was making a return or he was having a match. It was just him just going over his career.
Hmm.
hello.
Yeah, I think all right. Man, 0001's back with us. Yeah. You must have dropped out. Yeah, agreed. I see we all three are still on the same, right? We were great. It's always great to see the Undertaker, but we didn't get much way in what exactly his future is. All right, so then let's go on to the next segment, which talk about nostalgia. When you had Kurt Angle, Harvey Wilkerman, brother Love coming in with the "I love you," Teddy Long, holla holla, Jonathan Coachman. We had the Boogeyman in this segment. I don't, yeah, that's everybody I think we had in this segment, man. It was great seeing all these guys again. It was excellent. I loved Teddy Long and Coachman trying to do a bro hug, and he's like, it's fine. We never did get it right." um, and it was just funny seeing Coachman. Why would he didn't want any part of the worms, but he held his hand out anyway. It's really cool. And also not to too
Mhm.
segue off of something, Boogeyman. It was cool seeing him. Boogeyman's a really cool dude. Me and the man 0001, we were going up the elevator after WrestleCon. He was in front of us. And he had like this long black leather jacket. And I just said, "Hey, Boogeyman, that would have been a cool look for you." And he was like, "Oh, I appreciate that, man." And then he's like, "You guys in town for WrestleMania?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Cool." And then he was like, he says, "Hey, you got your phones on you?" He said, "Here, let's take a selfie." He right in front of us. He puts his luggage down, puts his arms around both of us. And it's like, "Get your phones out, take some photos, make the most of it. You live once." Cool dude, man. Cool dude. Like I can't
Yeah.
say all the wrestlers were that nice and everything. It's their prerogative if they want to give you photos or not if they're going out and about. But that was really cool. Just how Boogeyman actually took the time out and he the one that offered to take a photo with us. Like that was cool, man. We weren't even gonna ask him, but yeah, that was really cool. So it's really cool seeing Boogeyman get this chance. After they let him go from Tough Enough for Lying about his age. So I can't do nothing but just smile, man. This was just good seeing a lot of great characters on screen. So I'll go with you, the man 0001. What was your thoughts on this segment?
Well, I thought on a segment. I remember the segment. It was a cool, it was a cool segment. It was like, I watched it and got me a few laughs. I
Hmm.
mean, it's nice seeing some actual characters out there,
Hmm.
wrestling, and it shows what's lacking in today's wrestling, which is characters,
Exactly.
because everybody always wants to be the same kind of character nowadays.
Hmm.
Everyone wants to be Billy Badass.
Hmm.
everyone wants to be Billy Badass. Everyone wants to be this tough guy, this serious guy. Everybody always wants to be, what they saw growing up instead of,
Hmm.
trying to be themselves or trying to be an actual character.
Hmm.
And you sit in there, you got all of these guys in there who are freaking characters who aren't afraid, who aren't afraid to take risks, who won't take themselves very seriously. I
Right.
mean, as we'll get on later on to the show, the great Chris Jericho said this. He said, well, one of the ways to be successful in the wrestling business is this: you can't take yourself too seriously, and you got a room full of people who don't take themselves too seriously. I mean, Kurt Angle has accomplished everything there is to accomplish in wrestling.
Right. We were
From
there
pro,
for his
from
Hall of
amateur
Fame. That's what
wrestling
he
to
was saying during his Hall of Fame speech.
he's accomplished everything. And one of the things he learned, real quick is you can't take yourself too seriously. You got Jonathan Coachman, who has subjected himself to years of embarrassment and abuse, for our entertainment. And we thank him for that. And you have, Brother Love, who subjected himself to years of embarrassment and red face paint for our entertainment. And then you have, the boogeyman who eats worms, what I mean, for our entertainment. You have Theodore Long who
Hmm.
goes out there and he dances and basically shucks and jives at times. And he's been doing that for years for our entertainment. You got the Brooklyn Brawler, who basically, he's a job guy. He was a job guy for years, and he did it for our entertainment. And you got Harvey Whippleman, who took a lot of beatings and even became the WWF Women's Champion while dressed in drag. And for years, these guys went out there and embarrassed themselves for our entertainment. And nowadays, we got people out there who don't want to take those risks. We got people in the business. They're like, no, I don't want to wear a dress, or I don't want to go ahead and I mean, you gotta understand. This is, what I mean. I respect and admire the athletic side of professional wrestling. I always do. It's
Right.
it's my favorite side. But when it comes down to being a character, these guys should go out there and definitely be a character. And
Exactly. The
definitely be.
um the athletic side is what is where it all gets laid out in the ring, and that's what everything leads up. But it's everything that leads up to that. It's those characters we're gonna remember that when they get in that ring, that's when they're doing their athletic stuff in the ring. It's the characters that bring it and help tell that story when they get into like what this epic
So
match lines up. So I
some
agree.
of them, some of them don't even need to be. Some of them don't even need to get in the ring in
True.
order to, in order to be.
Be memorable. I agree
You
with
know what
that
I mean?
too. Yeah.
The late great Bobby the Brain Heenan, God rest his soul. I mean, he was a character, and he embarrassed the hell out of himself in order to entertain us.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he started off his career in professional wrestling as a wrestler, but he went on to become a manager and a commentator. And speaking, we can't talk about Raw. It's 25 years without talking about Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was on there, and he was like one of the first commentators on there.
Hmm.
I mean, and one of my favorite lines from Bobby the Brain Heenan is, a friend in need is a pest. That's just what it is.
Classic
But
Bobby.
yeah, but yeah, that's what it is when you're dealing with that's what it is when you're dealing with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Hmm.
You know what I mean. Then but yeah,
I,
a lot of
I
these
I
guys,
I got what you're saying basically. I agree with
yeah.
what you're saying about the characters. And Matt, did you have anything you want to add on to what we were saying about this segment?
Yeah, because the segment it basically dealt with what the whole focal point of the night was about was the nostalgia of it all, seeing different faces, we haven't seen in years, on television and WWE, and it was all just memories flashing through my mind. Every time someone walked in the room, it's just brought back like Brother Love, like oh my God, it brought back when I was way way young as a kid seeing him. It was just brought like so many memories. And then when I saw Boogeyman, I'm like, oh my God, it reminds me back in like early 2000s. And then when I
Hmm.
saw when the Brooklyn Brawler came in at first, like, oh my God, this is so awesome. It just everybody just played their own role, and it all just brought back memories. It just the fact they didn't even have to say anything, just walk in the room, you're like, I was like, oh my God, it's so and so, it's amazing.
Yeah,
But what Lawrence?
I was just
Oh,
saying I've
what
never
did you
been
say?
so excited just for a knock, like just, oh, who's the next knock? who's the next knock? Like you just knew. I can't wait to see what it's gonna be. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
All brought back a lot of memories. But one thing, the man 0001, that was true. Um, like they each played their own character to their best ability. They really pushed themselves out there, and that's a lot. That's a lot missing right now. I'm going to be honest. That's missing a lot right now. You have some people who feel like they should be, just chosen, be a chosen one to just go and do something instead of working for it, really pushing for it. I know there's a lot of barriers that you really can't go over when it comes to the company itself, but really push yourself out there. Make the best of what you got. That's really missing a lot right now.
I agree. All right, and leading into the next segment, that's exactly what we got. I love how they utilize the APA on the show. Jeff Hardy, Titus Worldwide, the Usos, Ted DiBiase, just so many great stars we got from the past and present. And Heath Slater did a tremendous job with the comedy. It was hilarious. In the way the segment ended, Dana Brooks saying he's been cheating, and you get the part. I love when they threw the New Day threw the pancakes and and did you notice when they zoomed in on the hands, you see Ted DiBiase throws the pancake back.
It cried off.
Yeah, and then at the end you get that great. We were waiting for it. You get Ron Simmons.
Damn. Yeah.
That was great. I love that. Just it just I think it goes. It was great to see MVP after all these years. Like it just really goes to show, yeah, just characters. Like just that's what made the Attitude Era great. Is whether you were on the low card or the main event, you remember these characters.
Not even just the Attitude Era. Even even the golden era in the WWF. Even
True, we did have Ted DiBiase there. All these eras, correct? Yeah.
I mean, and then after that, we have the new generation era. I mean, yeah, it was a low point in terms of finance and stuff, but at the same time, you still had characters there. You still had, characters going into the Attitude Era, and then you also had some pretty decent characters going into the Ruthless Aggression era, and then, you had some great characters in the PG era, too. I mean, I know that doesn't get talked about, and I know a lot of people hear PG era and they scoff, and it's like, makes their head turn. But it's still, we still had a few good characters there. We had people like Santino, who was a really good character in that time. You know what I'm saying?
Santino Marella, yes.
I mean, you had Santino Marella. He's talking about he's going to open up his can of ass whoop on Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stuff with Steve Austin was awesome.
The
kind of the ass rip. Those are the real bottom lines because Santino said me so.
And then and then after that you have a guy, then after that you have Vladimir Kozlov, what I mean, like I was alluded to earlier. Once you let some of these people get out of their shell a little bit, and you let them be silly, and you just let them go.
Right, dude. You mentioned that too, man. I wish they would have put Santino Marella on this show. That would have been awesome. I guess they weren't able to get him, man.
If you let that shows, I mean, when you had Vladimir Kozlov on on WWE, they should have just let him and Santino run with it for a little bit longer. That's what I wish that would have happened. But
I agree too.
They didn't.
But hey, we've talked a good deal about the characters, but let's move on to one of the parts of the show that was I think it was the only match that was advertised: Roman Reigns versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, here's the thing: I went into this match and this is going to be interesting. I mean, the crowd reaction of Roman getting booed out the building, I thought that was hilarious. And Miz is always great. Now, obviously, Roman Reigns is definitely a very polarizing figure. Obviously, I personally, in the ring, I think he's fine, and I do enjoy his matches. But just in terms of the way WWE books him as a character, and I'm not too big a fan when he talks on the mic. I thought the stuff he said with Cena was good, but other than that, I don't have the sheer dislike for Roman Reigns that I know a lot of people have out there. I just think he's sort of misbooked, and that's what's got him polarizing like this by fans' reaction. But with that said in mind, when they do these matches with Roman Reigns, I feel a lot of it like, yeah, we know the wrestlers he's in the ring with are good. Yes, we know it's going to be a good 20-minute back and forth match. Yeah, they're going to have a lot of hope spots, but at the end, Roman's going to hit the spear, pin him 1, 2, 3, and you're gonna have Michael Cole on commentary saying he was against a very gamed opponent. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was going through this match. So I really didn't look at it. I was just looking at the match. I didn't really expect too much out of it, and I'm like, all right, he's gonna kick out of here from the skull crushing finale. He does, and then you had a lot of interference from the Miz Taraj, and at the end they got ejected from the ring, and I actually did not see him take the turnbuckle off, but I was honestly
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised when the Miz threw Roman Reigns into the turnbuckle that actually showed him his cleverness as a heel, and he hit the scroll crushing finale and pinned him 1, 2, 3, and Miz is now, I believe, an 8-time Intercontinental Champion. So pleasantly
Yes,
surprised. Good, good,
yes, that is an eight. That is his eighth Intercontinental Championship,
awesome. I
and the
was
52nd time on Monday Night Raw the Intercontinental Championship has changed hands.
This is why we have the man 0001. He is the historian
Hmm.
here. But yeah, I mean the Miz, man, he walks with his eighth Intercontinental title, which basically might mean that I wouldn't see them taking the title off of Roman if they didn't want to stick with that rumor we heard about him going into WrestleMania to defend the Intercontinental title against Brock for the Universal title and do like a double title match. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised, and Miz, as he has done, will continue to knock it out of the park as the Intercontinental
The
title. So
Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan.
yeah, it looks like we won't be getting that at WrestleMania, at least for now, or unless they just did this for a
Uh,
pop. I actually going to start with Matt first because I know you told me on Facebook you were very pleasantly surprised. So what are your thoughts on this match? I was just, like I said, I was sitting there like, nothing till the end. Like, wow, they actually went there. They actually booked the Miz to win. Go ahead.
That's what's pleasantly surprised me, honestly, from that match itself, because in the beginning it was all Roman, basically, and we all knew that that was going to happen for pretty much the majority of the match was all Roman.
Hmm.
And then the Miz Taraj gets involved, of course, to distract him, to give Miz a chance, not give the Miz the ability to go one-on-one with Roman himself, of course, but either way, I like the way the match ended with Miz winning. And then, like you mentioned in the beginning about the turnbuckle, I didn't see that at all. And when they showed it, I liked that. That was so clever, like you said. They brought that after the fact. He did that and won the match.
Yeah, it was very well
I
shot.
like that. That was a good twist. Yeah, I like that.
And how about you, the man 0001? What was your thoughts on this match?
ah, boy, my thoughts on
Yeah, this
this
should be
match
good because I
were
think I think out of the three of us, he dislikes the Roman Reigns character the most.
I'm being very nice right now about Roman. I'm not as well. Well, he'll probably.
Well, hey, yeah, this is good. We need different perspectives. Go ahead, man 0001.
boy, oh boy. All right, I'll first go. I'll first start by by talking about the Roman Reigns Intercontinental Championship run. I mean, Roman Reigns as Intercontinental Champion should have happened back in 2015. Not now, not when the Miz is holding that championship and making it relevant and making it mean something. Roman
Mhm.
Reigns should have been. What I believe is this. I believe they should have simply switched Roman Reigns with Daniel Bryan in 2015. And that right there would have made Roman Reigns a much bigger star, and he would have been so much more well received if he was the Intercontinental Champion heading into, you know, heading into the following pay-per-view after WrestleMania. I believe that had he won that ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 31, he would not have nearly the amount of heat that he has right now.
Mm.
And had you put Daniel Bryan in that main event spot at WrestleMania 31 and you had Seth Rollins cash in on Daniel Bryan, you would have had so many people getting over in the right way. You know what I mean? So, the Roman Reigns Intercontinental Championship is, it's about 2 to 3 years too late. That's number one. So as we're heading into Raw's 25th year, I say this, Roman Reigns, he had put on some really, he put on some really decent matches, some really good matches as Intercontinental Champion. It's not like he goes out there and he's a boring schlub. I have tremendous
Mm.
respect for anybody who gets out there and laces them up. whether if I like them or don't like them, I have nothing but tremendous respect for them. You know, they're going out there for our entertainment, and they're taking, you know, the bumps, the bruises, the injuries, and the time away from their family and friends to go out there and, you know, put on a show for us. You know, that's number one. So when it comes down to this match was, you know, it was pretty standard TV match. You know what I mean? You have the heel, the Miz, go out there and add his goons, his cronies, the Miz Taraj, hit the distraction, and then you have Roman, and after that you have Roman Reigns go out there and hit the bottom, hit the middle turnbuckle, and get a skull crushing finale again, for Miz to win his 8th Intercontinental Championship. This is kind of reminiscent of Chris Jericho versus Batista back on the 800th episode of Raw in a steel cage match when Jericho took that bolt off the cage and popped Batista upside the head with it and caused him to bleed a little bit, and became became a 5-time world champion. So it's just like it kind of reminded me of that, because it's like you have this guy you have this guy who has a hulking physique, who's big, strong, he's powerful. And then you have this, this little guy you got this little average-looking guy who's a heel, bad guy. He has to rely on his quick wits, and he has to rely on his tactical advantage as well as, some extra help in order for him to get that win. And and that's just what it is. And I feel, from a character point of view, that's what the Miz had to do. And in order to get that victory, and I feel that the Miz will continue to bring relevancy and as well as prestige to the Intercontinental Championship. And he's well on his way to having the most days combined as Intercontinental Champion. I hope they make him a long reigning Intercontinental Champion off this title run.
For sure.
'Cause that's
Though if
'cause
he's
that's where
coming if he's coming close to that Jericho record, I imagine they might take the title off of him soon and put it right back on. There might be some potential for a later Jericho and Miz feud, and Miz is at the top of his game, so I actually would not mind seeing that.
yeah
But
yeah.
let's keep it moving as well. We're about 44 minutes in.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the Peep Show, which was really cool seeing Christian get, I haven't heard Christian's music in so long, and seeing Christian get some
Yeah.
spotlight here, because usually the few times that he does come back with, they kind of just like play Edge and just have him right there by the side. But I realized Edge was not on this show, but it was cool seeing it. But what's really nice is actually Christian, he just introduced the current stars, and he took a back seat and let the current stars shine here. But actually, if I'm talking about shine, really, I thought the audience, the fans, the fans made this segment. Oh my gosh, the heat that that Jason Jordan got, you could barely hear his voice. Like, the fans booing was louder than his voice, and man, I thought that was very entertaining to watch, and seeing Sheamus and Cesaro come out and do their shtick, and the fans are cheering for them even though they're the heels. And when Seth Rollins accidentally jumped off and his knee ran into he hit Jason Jordan, the crowd's popping. Yes, yes, yes. Like, the crowd is what
Oh, much.
the crowd is what made this segment. But I will say this about Jason Jordan. I feel like they are really onto something finally. They realize the audience doesn't like Jason Jordan, and I feel like Jason Jordan is really starting to find himself, just being like, hey, I'm kind of like the outcast into the Shield, but I'm gonna be like cool, and everything. Like, everybody's looking at him like, you're not fitting in with us, but he's trying to fit in. Like, however the words I'm
Right.
trying to find it, but I think it's really working for Jason Jordan. I think they're finally getting on something. So between the crowd reaction and the fact that I like that Jason Jordan is going with it, I got good things. I thought it was a pretty good segment, and I like I said, I liked it. Christian took a back seat and let the current talent show shine here. So I'll let either one of you take the floor. What did you think about this segment?
I thought the segment
Mm,
was pretty good. For what it's worth, segment focused on the tag titles more than anything. That was what it was about. But like you said, those those reactions for Jordan, that really was the star of that moment. And I like the way that is, though, because it kind of, like you said, it works because he's the comedy relief. At the same time, fans have something to react to, and that's Jason Jordan. Because, with Dean not being there for that, because Dean was really involved in that, being the comedy relief and being the one to really get expelled with fans and the energy and everything. It's an interesting angle. I actually am looking forward to that match for the tag titles at the Royal Rumble.
I'll agree. It should be a good one. All four tremendous
It should be.
talents.
Yeah, it should be. It was great. And like you said, Christian took a back seat, let them talk. He didn't make it about himself. He didn't mention anything. So that was very good.
And how about you, the man 0001? What did you think about this segment?
I thought this segment was really good. A lot of people look at this segment and be like, "Oh no, come on, get him off my screen." Yeah, I think, contrary to popular belief, I think this right here was a really good, it was a really good segment, and I think Jason Jordan really shined in this segment.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of harkens back to Kurt Angle back in the
Right?
1999 and 2001 when he was this really goofy heel character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because he's really trying to fit in. He's really being goofy and he's really being corny, and I think he found his stride. I think he found his stride when he adopted this character, and I think this right here that tonight was another notch in his belt. And I think this was a little bit of a star-making performance here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. He embraced the heat, definitely, for sure. Let's move on. We finally, after all this time, went back to the Manhattan Center. Like, gosh. So this is all right. I had an issue with this. Now, first of all, it is tremendous to hear Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Like, oh my gosh. Hey, listen, I do think Michael Cole is good, but we know Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon is in his ear a lot. I like Corey Graves. Tremendous respect for Booker T. I'm a little bigger fan of his in-ring work and his mic skills. The performer, the wrestler, Booker T. Commentary, so much, not as much of a fan. He has his moments on commentary, don't get me wrong. But with that said in mind, there's nothing like Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. The chemistry they have, the chemistry that they have, the ability to call the match. It was great to hear that. But with that said in mind, we had Woken Matt Hardy taking on Bray Wyatt. Now, this is a match that has been built up for weeks, going back to December, and there was nothing but one match, the Intercontinental title match, that was hyped for the show, and they just put this match on there like after all the weeks of build-up of constantly wondering, is this going to be at the Royal Rumble? Are they going to drag it out to WrestleMania? When is this match going to be announced? We get it. It's a short match, and Matt Hardy ends up losing, and I don't know where to go with this. Like, I feel like this would have been the first big victory for the Matt Hardy Woken character, and at the same time, Bray Wyatt did need a win as well because he loses so much. But I feel like, is this the real way you want to utilize Matt Hardy? Like, this is his loss. Like, I don't want to see the broken Matt Hardy character just be booked like he's just another guy on the roster. Like, what he was able to do for Impact Wrestling in the time he was there with this gimmick, I felt like WWE should treat it as something special. So between now putting this match like it's just there after all the build up, and the build up itself was just a laugh off basically. It wasn't the creative stuff that we've seen. It rubbed me the wrong way, and that was my issue. But hey, we got to hear Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary, so we had that at least, and it's always good to see a nice new setting, change of pace, being they were from the Manhattan Center. I'll start with you, Matt. What was your thoughts on this?
You know what? Like you said in the beginning, how it all seemed like it would be a great match, and it was a great match. It just didn't really go anywhere, the build-up for it. I mean, it had so much potential, and I think it still does have potential. I mean, they can still work with it, but it's starting to really just starting to get dry because they really haven't done anything with it. As good as Jim Ross is and how great Jerry the King Lawler are, they're both legends in commentating, but I just, the match itself was just a match. That's what I felt. I didn't feel anything with it, like it had more potential than what it had. Maybe they can do more in the future, but that's what I thought about it.
I agree. What about you, the man 0001?
What I thought about this is I'm not going to sour on it too much. I don't look at it as something terrible, you know what I mean? 'Cause right now, you know, this rivalry has been going on for what, a month now? You know, a
Yeah.
month and a half, and this right here. Yeah, I don't think this is the crescendo for this rivalry. I think this is just getting started when it comes down to them having their matches and everything. It's a lot, you know. I mean, yes, I know this is a nostalgia show, but at the end of the day, it's a loss on Raw. You know what I mean? You know, so the next time they may face off might be at the Royal Rumble, might be at one of the Fastlane pay-per-views. You know, might be at a Roadblock pay-per-view, might be at a, you know, Elimination Chamber since Raw gets the Elimination Chamber this year. You know, so I don't look at it as, you know, this right here is this is a devastating blow, and
Right.
Matt Hardy's career is over, and everything else. Yeah, for me, it's just like, yeah, it's lost. It's on Raw. Bray Wyatt needed this win. He needs to pick up the initial win so he can look strong. Going forward in this rivalry, because you got to make one of these guys like a credible threat. And in order to do that, you know, Bray Wyatt had to take the preemptive strike, and he had to take the preemptive win in order
Hmm.
to in order to make this rivalry work. Because you can't have Bray continuously be the job guy, you know. You know what I mean? For all of the people out there who watch UFC, he can't be, you know, he can't no longer be the Travis Brown of the WWE.
Trips.
you know, you know what I mean? You know, basically be a job guy. You know what I mean? You know, basically be, you know, a high profile member of the job squad. You know, pin me, pay me, and leave. You know,
Pen, pay, leave, repeat.
PPL.
Pen, pay,
You
leave,
know,
repeat. Pen, pay, leave, repeat. Pen, pay, leave, repeat.
you know what I mean. We can't continuously have that.
Right. Hey, man,
You
it's
know.
a definitely a good perspective. Definitely on it. Let's just hope indeed there is more to this feud. Let's move on here to Elias and Chris Jericho. You know, Chris Jericho always reinventing himself. I love the ending of this segment when he the song he had about Elias, and when he takes the list out and he's like, "You just made the." And he's like, "Nah, I'm just playing with you, man. No, I'm just kidding." And he says, "You just made the list." I loved it. Like a different taste, almost a little kind of similar to like how The Rock, would joke around before he says, "What is your name?" It doesn't matter what your name is. Excellent. I thought Jericho was tremendous in this segment, and once again, just the power that a character like Chris Jericho has over the audience with just a list, a pen, a paper, and just a list, like tremendous. I'll let you take the floor with this segment though, because Chris Jericho is one of your all-time favorites, the man 0001.
Right.
So break it down for us for this.
Oh boy, yeah, this segment right here was a really good segment. I mean, wish they could have done more with Chris Jericho, perhaps a match with Elias.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
A match with Elias or something like that, because this right here would have definitely been a great way to use Chris Jericho instead of just having him do a backstage segment and leave. Because he looked like he was just like he had his guitar on, and he looked like he was just 1 foot out the door, like, yeah, I'm just here.
Yeah.
I'm just here to show up and speak for a couple minutes, and I gotta hop on the next flight back to Japan. I gotta fight, I gotta beat the shit out of Naoto again. 'Cause, Tetsuya Naoto, he needs to be beat up once more. You know what I mean?
That
But
came out of nowhere.
you know what I mean? Because if they
Would
really
have been
wanted to
cool if
do,
he made an appearance on this show, but I don't think Vince wants to do any promotion collaboration with New
I
Japan
mean,
Pro
it would
Wrestling.
be.
It would have been cool though.
Yeah, it would be really cool if they did. It would be really cool if Chris Jericho was having a match against Elias, and Tetsuya Naoto comes out there and he he costs Chris Jericho the match. They're like, who the
That would
and
be
then
perfect.
what I mean. Just think about what what the current commentary team's response to this would have been. Who the hell is that guy?
Oh man, I would have loved seeing one of the things I do like about Booker T on
What?
commentary when he goes like, "What the hell?"
Like, who the
Like
heck?
I do love those parts.
You
Yeah, I
got
do
Michael
love
Cole
some of Booker
stutter.
T's
You got Michael
reactions.
Cole stuttering over. Who the heck is that guy? Where does he come from? That's Sasuke Naito from New Japan.
What is he
Yeah,
doing there? He
I
has
think
no
I think
business
Corey
being
Corey
here.
Graves would maybe Corey Graves would be the one to fill him in on stuff. Oh yeah, man, it's tremendous.
But
And let's move on. We had to the into to the they introduced the women's did they introduce them as women's legends or legendary women's wrestlers? How did they introduce them?
legendary women's superstars.
Okay, so the perfect terms for it. Because growing up, I was not a fan of all these women's, particularly the ones that weren't really well known for their in-ring ability, but they did use the term superstars. But the thing is, one way or another, you had a lot of these women that did make impact. You had the ones like Trish Stratus that really, kind of started off as the model type, but then really showed a lot of progression in the ring. I would say the same for the Bella Twins. And you had characters like Tori Wilson, who wasn't really known for in-ring work. However, because they were able to use the advantages they had back when the show was TV-14, they basically were able to make an interesting character out of her that a lot of people were able. They used their looks to their advantage. So from that standpoint, I definitely understand why they would be honored as legendary women's wrestlers. So I mean, women's superstars here. So we had the Bella Twins. Maurice, Kelly, Lillian Garcia, Jacqueline, Tori Wilson, Michelle McCool, Terry Runnels, Maria Kanellis, and Trish Stratus all coming out on the stage. So it was great to hear a lot of these women's music. Great to see a lot of these women and everything. I thought they all looked good. They all have really kept in great shape.
yeah,
Particularly some of the older ones and everything. So that really goes to show out there, guys. Keep yourself in good shape. You can look good at any age. So much respect to all these women and everything. Trish Stratus, though,
mhm.
this was a big one because we haven't seen Trish Stratus in a while, and a lot of people were wondering, is she going to come out and announce she's going to be in the Rumble? But she just basically came out there to wave, and that was it. And I could understand if some people maybe thought this may have been disappointing. So, I mean, it was like one of those things like, it's great to see a lot of these women again, but I dare say, was it like the Undertaker segment? So we didn't even get to hear him talk. That's what I gotta say. It was nice to see all these women again, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll be kept as a surprise in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Mhm.
But that's about most I can
Yeah,
say on the
minus
segment.
Maria and Maurice though.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah, that is right. They are
Yeah.
pregnant. Congratulations to them too and their husbands. But also, yeah, what did you think about seeing all the women again in the Man 0001?
What I thought about the segment was just, it was a segment. They came out there and they showed these legendary women wrestlers and ballets. Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. 'Cause growing up watching women's wrestling, I never really got a chance to see any really good women's wrestling unless we're talking about Alundra Blaze. And for her alone, it's just like not enough to really give me that spark and let me see what women's wrestling is all about. So it's just like, I really didn't get to see really good women's wrestling until I saw, until like the year 2000. So I saw Trish and Lita, and also saw a little lesser known lady
Oh,
out
I
there
was I
named,
was really hoping we were gonna see
you know,
Lita.
Yeah.
you know,
I was hoping we were gonna see her.
yeah, but I really didn't, I really didn't get to see any really good women's wrestling until I saw Trish, Lita, and then a little bit before their time, a little known brunette-haired, bronze-skinned lady named Lisa Moretti, aka Ivory. I mean,
Wish we would have
she
been able to
was,
see Ivory too.
what I mean, her and Jacqueline,
Mhm.
what I mean, those were something different. It's just like, if we're talking about nostalgia and we're talking about women's wrestling, you can't forget Jacqueline and you can't forget Ivory. Because it's like when you see them, it's just like, yeah, these women are beautiful, but it's like it's something different. You
Mhm.
can sense the seriousness of you can sense the seriousness of their characters and of their in-ring craft coming from them. So it's not like they're out there just to look good and play around in mud and stuff. Even though they did, even though they could, these are women that actually knew how to wrestle. So
Right.
yeah, and so then you go out there and
They had the best of both worlds.
so yeah,
Mm.
when it came,
Right.
so when it came down to it, especially since Ivory came from the original Glow, the show called Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. and seeing where she went, she is like the biggest success story coming from that. So, I wish she was on the show, but seeing these women go out there and seeing them, and see where they're at right now in life, it's pretty cool. You get to see all these women. They are all family women. They have had children. They've had marriages. They've gone out and they've lived life. Some of them are still competing on the indie scene. Others in which have separated themselves from the business, but they have they just came into New York and they just popped in to say hi and to see everything. And, and that's all we hope for, because, being a professional wrestling fan can be depressing at times, especially when you see such and such and so has, passed away, unfortunately. And,
Right.
seeing all these legends in general pop up and seeing them in there,
I agree. I
it's
agree with that 100%. Definitely.
it's really refreshing and seeing all of them there and seeing that they're in a much better place in life than
Absolutely.
than they were, and some of them were when they were doing professional wrestling. So it's always a good thing. It's it was a really good treat to see Lillian Garcia there as well.
It
And it was
was, yeah.
also
Absolutely.
it was also a treat seeing Tori Wilson there. Seeing her come out there because she's been a fitness model ever since leaving the WWE. She's been a fitness model. She was in a relationship, I believe, with Alex Rodriguez until they broke up a couple of years ago. But she's been doing so well since she's left, and she's been
Absolutely. I thought
she's
she looked excellent. She looked just like back when she was in WWE.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
man, like she never even aged. So yeah, like I said much props to these women for
you know,
sure.
and for her, it's like yeah, she's done well for herself as well, and seeing Maurice, who was just on TV not too long ago, like mid last year, and then again for the Miz during Survivor Series, and now seeing her with her little baby bump, it's just like it's crazy. And then you see Maria Kanellis.
Maria Kanellis, I enjoyed hearing her and Mike's song again. I'm like, man, it's been so
Yeah,
long since I've heard this because they can't find anything to
Right.
do for her husband, unfortunately. So like,
yeah,
I marked out to hear the song again.
yeah. It was just like yeah, I love that theme song too. But yeah, seeing Maria Kanellis out there and seeing how well she has done, and a lot of people, a lot of people may not know this if they just watched WWE and nothing else. But she's come a long ways in terms of her in ring work.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely,
wish
definitely.
and after she has her child and after she gets some good time to spend with her child, if she ever decides to get back in the ring, I hope the people get to see that, and I hope that we all get
Right.
to cherish that because she's gotten significantly better, ever since leaving
And
the WWE.
she's really shown that she was able to surpass playing the character that WWE had gave her in her first run too. So
Yeah,
I totally agree.
so she had earned that
Um,
respect. So, it's again, it's amazing seeing all of them out there. I wish they would have
for
had
sure.
more of them on there, but yeah,
Hmm.
it was amazing seeing them out there.
Matt, did you want anything you wanted to add about the women coming out on stage?
One thing about like the man 0001 said, I would like to see more of them out there. But it was just great seeing them all there, all in great shape. They all looked like they're really taking care of themselves, and it was good. I liked it. The fact that they were allowed to come out there with everyone. Because even though we don't see them on television, a lot of fans they like to follow them, on social media, different outlets, see how their lives are going, and to see them, on screen is really amazing.
Right. And we can move on to the next segment now. Hopefully you're still listening to us, with folks. I know we're going over an hour here, but hopefully you're enjoying all our insight here. That's why I'm doing these audio reviews, so you can go about your daily lives while you listen. But with that in mind, I won't harper on this segment. Elias. So now here's the thing. I like the Elias character. I was entertained by it. But I was hoping, I know they didn't advertise them, but I was really hoping that this would be a surprise for The Rock to make a one-off return and sort of do like a Rock
I was
concert
hoping that.
against Elias. I thought this would have been perfect, and we didn't get it. Instead, I wanted The Rock. We got John Cena,
Oh boy.
and now I'm
Do,
gonna be
do, do,
honest.
do.
All
No.
three.
No.
all three of us are honestly, all three of us are not John Cena fans. I dare say we have respect for some of the things that John Cena has done in the business, but
Of
ultimately,
course.
just three of us are not. When it comes to the overall of the John Cena character and the way he's presented and some of his execution in the ring, we just yeah, we're just not fans. But with that said in mind, you bring John Cena out here. I know I acknowledge, you guys acknowledge, he is a big star in the way WWE presents him. Um, this segment, I don't think it really did much. I mean, just you brought Cena out there, you had the fans singing John Cena sucks, and I'll say this: they made Elias look strong. They had
They did.
Elias get one up on John Cena, so that's cool to see a younger slash newer talent get one over the legends basically coming back. But Cena is going to be in the Rumble, so is this just the same old shtick that they usually do? They'll make John Cena look beaten down just so he can have the big comeback come the pay-per-view. So who knows? And plus, also, last time Cena was on Raw, he already had a segment slash match with Elias. So it's like this whole segment was building up. I was just waiting, if not The Rock, somebody, and it was Cena. It's like it just didn't do much for me. That's my thoughts on it. Man, 0001, you have anything about this segment you like to say?
I think this segment was really a star making segment for Elias. Yeah, it really made him
Right,
look
he was
really,
the best part.
you know, it really made him look strong here, going over I can't believe this, I'm saying this, but the 16-time world champion John Cena. Yeah,
Just really
you know
even
what I
saying
mean? Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it made him look really strong, and it really made him look like he is, you know, you know, a possible contender for some championship gold or silver in the future. You know,
it.
you know what I mean? Because some of them belts in the WWE, some of them championship titles are silver,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And people sit up there and say, "Well, he's got some gold." No, no, bitch, the belt's silver.
Well,
You
there you
know what
go.
I mean? Can you read? I mean, can you look at this? You know what I mean? If this were the Olympics, Kurt Angle would have nothing to do with that at all. He only knows what gold looks like.
Oh,
So yeah,
oh man.
so
And
yeah.
how about you, Matt? Anything you'd like to add on this segment?
Just like the man 0001 said, it was a star-making moment for Elias. He's really every week he would come out and really try to get fans to really adopt his character. You know, he's a heel and he mocks
Hmm.
every city he's in. He's trying to get more people to listen in. And what he did with Cena, I think, really helped his character a lot as a heel. Of course,
Hmm.
with the guitar, I love that part. But it really made his character more, I would say, molded for everyone to
Hmm.
see that he
Yeah.
is able to go with bigger people like Cena. So I like that.
I was actually waiting that segment when he had Cena down. I'm like, all right, waiting for John Cena to come back with the big comeback, and he didn't.
Right.
He got laid out with it. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, Elias looked really good in the segment, and hopefully this is just not a setup for John Cena to come back and beat him. Maybe they'll leave it to this, and Elias comes away looking strong.
Yeah,
Moving on.
one last thing I
Go
like
ahead.
to add is I think Elias will be John Cena's WrestleMania opponent.
Mm.
Especially with especially with Samoa Joe out and injured. I think Samoa Joe was originally supposed to be Elias WrestleMania. Was supposed to be John Cena's WrestleMania opponent. I think Elias is he's gonna be that guy.
I don't know how I feel about that, but if it does come down to that, please let Elias get the clean win over and have a star making performance. That's all I would ask if they go that route.
Hmm.
Wow.
So let's move on to Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews, or should we say this Titus
Worldwide.
Worldwide?
Wait,
uh, versus Heath Slater
hula hula
and
hula.
Rhino versus Heath Slater. So I kind of felt this match is just there. I think everybody's just waiting. Okay, what legends are going to come out and interfere? And we got the Dudley
The
Boys.
Dudleys.
Yeah, so they came out and did a table. It's really cool because I think I had heard that Bubba Ray possibly had a career-ending injury, so to see him go ahead and perform the 3D was really cool. And I noticed they protect World Titus Worldwide, which got a which I think they won the last two matches. So it's really cool to see WWE protecting these guys and actually starting to go ahead and give them a rub. Heath Slater, once again, he did good. Dang, man, he got beat up by the Legends on Raw 1000, right?
Yeah, I guess his
Man.
ass whooped.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Heath Slater is Heath Slater he's being a real champ with these segments. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was great to see the Dudleys again. It's good to see. I was doing the what's up and the tables and everything.
Mhm.
And this is another thing. You have them endorse the newer stars, so this is really good. A nice utilization of older talent and endorsing newer talent. So I can't really complain about this segment. What are you guys' thoughts?
My thoughts on this is my thoughts on the segment is this: you have Titus Worldwide out there with you got Titus and you have Apollo Crews out there with Dana Brooke, and you have Rhino and Heath Slater out there. Like, as SonGoshuaku alluded to earlier, he does not get the good end of the stick on these nostalgia shows. You know
Does
what I
not.
mean? You have to understand. I think he got power bombed by Sid on Raw 1000. So,
Yeah, I remember that.
he got power bombed by Sid. He got beaten by Lita, and then on top of that, he suffered a 3D through a table. You know, on Raw's 25th, and I think Heath Slater needs to stay as far away from
I
nostalgia
mean, he's
shows
got
as
kids to
possible.
feed. I mean, he's really trying to
You
put that
know,
money on the
but
table.
if
Oh,
y'all
and
know
then
that, but
somebody
if
had
y'all
an
know,
awesome line during that. Somebody had an awesome line during that. During the when they were playing in the with the APA. Oh man, what somebody said? He said, "I got kids," and someone says, "Did someone say now like they're gonna be broke like their daddy now?" Some I
Oh,
forget what the line
I
was.
think that was
That was
JBL.
hilarious. Yeah, that was a pretty funny line. I forget the line. Man, that was hilarious.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't care. They're gonna be
but
broke
yeah,
just like your daddy.
yeah,
that was almost as
But
bad as
like,
Brock's comment.
yeah, but yeah, when you put him out there, but if y'all notice, Rhino switched up to ECW real quick.
oh
So as
yeah,
the Dudleys
I
came
was
out.
looking at that.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, Ryan was like, sorry, man, I gotta put my bros first.
yeah, man.
How about you, Matt? Anything you'd like to add on the segment before we move on?
I think pretty much generalized everything. I have really nothing to say other
That's cool.
than what happened, basically. Yeah.
That's cool. I see we also they had Mark Henry and Godfather, so all of us who grew up the Nation of Domination was cool. Always great to see the Godfather. So we learned that the Godfather in this segment is married, and Mark Henry was ready to go back into sexual,
He put a
baby.
ring on it.
Oh, yes. So no sexual chocolate Mark Henry tonight. Now, being that obviously they won't say it, but obviously we know Godfather is a character supposed to be a pimp, and he has his hoes. This segment brought me back, not to get too off of the wrestling. This segment brought me back to King of the Hill in one of my favorite episodes, where I think Snoop Dogg was being Alabaster, the pimp, and he wanted Hank's wife, who he thought was one of his hoes, and Hank's like, "That is my wife." And then Alabaster responds, "Man, that's one of the biggest mistakes a pimp could make. Man, one of his hoes." That just brought a King of the Hill flashback. I love that show, but no, this is interesting. I think this is for character wise for the Godfather. This is uh this is this is huge for the Godfather character. He's settled down in life, and he's committed to one now. So I mean,
Trade his pimp
interesting
ring
for the
for a wedding
Godfather
ring.
character. What was your thoughts on this segment, man? 0001.
My thoughts on the segment was this: I saw what they were getting at, but it was kind of if anyone knows the story behind the Godfather's character and they know where it came from, it was kind of like a homage. It was kind of like everything coming full circle because, Godfather in a video I saw a while back, he said, his wife came up with the character for, the Godfather, and she would make his uniforms, and she would pick out the hats for him to wear and everything else. So she came up with the idea, and he followed through with it. And for her to be there on Raw 25, and for her to see her work, and his work come together and become this character, become successful. It's really it's really cool. And also, you got Mark Henry thinking that this is one of Godfather's hoes, but he was like, no, no, Mark, that's not just any lady, that's my wife. So it's just like it kind of shows that it kind of shows the maturation of the Godfather character, and it finally shows that everything came full circle. So it's like
Right.
you know what I mean? And also, if y'all, also for all y'all out on the street, y'all understand even pimps retire, You know what I mean? Because pimping ain't easy, and you can't, and if it ain't easy, you can't do it forever. So y'all got to understand what it is.
What about you, Matt? Your thoughts on the segment before we move on?
I thought it was great that he had his wife on there, especially with the man 0001 said about his wife helping him with his career. I think that was a big moment for them both to have her on there with them in this segment. I thought was great.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're getting to the later part of this show, and hopefully we can wrap things up soon as we are about hour and 18 minutes in here. So we went back to the Manhattan Center, and at this point in the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're not really giving these people at the center much of the show. Like, man, but we got Degeneration X coming out. So they came out. Yeah, it was great to see Sean, Triple H. Triple H did a wonderful job giving thanks back to the fans. We got the New Age Outlaws. It was good to go with all the old sayings. X Pac came out. So yeah, it was good. And then we had Scott Hall, and just like Scott Hall only got like 5 seconds of screen time, then they go right to the commercial, and I'm like, what the heck is Kevin Dunn and his crew doing? Why would they do that right in the middle of Scott Hall's entrance? And then we come back and we see, oh, okay, Scott Hall is going to talk. And then, this is really cool because obviously Too Sweet is huge right now in professional wrestling, but all of us that grew up, we know that it was a thing with the Click, DX, and NWO. So it's really cool to see the originators do the Too Sweet with those who have adapted it now in the present of professional wrestling. So I thought it was a cool segment. Then you had the Revival come out, and I was getting really bad flashbacks of what they did with oh man, who was it from NXT? The Ascension. How they had all the legends beat up the Ascension, and they haven't been the same since on WWE programming. But we got a short, decent match for what it was, and we got to see DX do all their signature moves to them, and in the end, the Balor Club and Degeneration X, the Click, they all had a good moment, and you got endorsed. So once again, a segment I can't really complain a lot about. I thought the Revival didn't look too bad. I thought after this they were gonna be like the Ascension, but hopefully it looks like they still got good plans for them. So definitely it could have been a lot worse for them. I was just hoping they wouldn't just downright make these guys look like fools. And like I said, having the Click basically endorse the newer talent. Hey, that's good. I love that. That's what I want to see. I want to see the older talent helping put over the new talent. So yeah, I got nothing else much to say, but yeah, I think that's about it. Anything you want to say? The Man 0001?
But yeah, it comes down to Revival. I mean, I think they're a really good team. When I saw this, it's like it was kind of like a passing of the torch
Yeah.
from one group to the from one group of people to the other. What I mean? When I look at the Bullet Club, when I look at the Balor Club, when I look at all of these members in there, I look at it as a Click 2.0, but a little bit more positively though.
Hmm.
What I mean?
Yeah.
They're not pulling backstage stunts in order to get themselves they're not pulling them up, they're not pulling backstage stunts, and they're not holding other people's careers down in order to advance their own. You know what I'm saying? So, it's passing of the torch, and I think when it comes down to advancing their own careers, I think the club, the Bullet Club, the Balor Club, the club within the WWE, the Boys Club, the Men's Club, whatever club they're calling themselves, the strip club, the players club. I don't know what kind of club they call themselves, but we all know that they're just a club nonetheless. And we also know that these guys, I think they're, I think, once they're given the torch, once they're given the backstage power, I think they will use the backstage power a lot wiser and a lot better. And also, I got to see my all-time favorite wrestler out there, Shawn Michaels, and
Oh yeah.
I have to say, Father Time has really beaten him the piss ever since 2010. You know, he's really put a beating on him. Yeah,
Hey man, I still think he's in great shape.
I mean,
We saw at
yeah.
WrestleMania
Everybody
20,
ages
20
differently, yeah.
28.
Yeah,
28 man, he still can go.
yeah, he looks, he looks a lot better in
And
person.
we met we met him in person too.
He looks a lot
Awesome.
he looks a lot better in person than he does on camera. I think the camera adds 15 more years.
15
You know, I mean, in some people's cases, the camera adds 15 pounds, but in him and Vince McMahon's cases, it adds 15 more years, I guess. I don't know.
I know it, like
Yeah.
rest of it is just tonight. It just looked different. Like he just keeps changing every time you see him on camera.
It looked, I mean, he didn't look like the original Vin Man that I remember. So he, he just,
How about you, Matt? You had anything you want to add to this segment that you like?
Definitely my favorite moment of the night. That was just the whole thing was just good. One thing about it though, I have to say, I know we mentioned earlier, but still thought it was so odd that when Razor Ramon came out, it just went to commercial. As he was making
Yeah,
his
I thought they were
entrance.
gonna end like that and just go right back to the Barclays Center. I'm like,
I'm
really?
like, what?
Like, come on now.
But it was all, I think, um,
Yeah.
fitting well.
Hey man, how good is it to see the just the physical condition and just how much better Scott Hall looks now,
Yeah,
having overcome a lot of his demons. I know he's had some slip ups that we've heard on the internet, but he just looks so much better. Like he's in a much better place in life, and it just goes back to what the man 0001 is. We've had so many professional wrestlers that have passed over the years, and especially after what Scott Hall's been through, to see him be able to come out there on his own power, walk on his own 2 feet,
right.
and look like he's been able to take his life back and get it under control. It's just always good to see that, man. It's really good to see the Click. Know they've been friends for what 20 plus years, and there they are still being able to come out on TV and entertain us. So that's always just great.
Click in the Balor Club were like, fuck the revival. They just both did.
All right, and then we now shall move on to the main event segment, the showdown with Brock Lesnar, Kane, and Braun Strowman. So when Kurt Angle's coming out and he's bringing all these legends out here, but I know they're getting ready for confrontation with the Universal Championship match competitors for the Rumble. I'm like, hey, Eric Bischoff and them, and seeing a brother love, I like seeing these guys is great coming out here, but I'm like, surely Kurt Angle's not going to be using them as security to hold back Braun Strowman.
The whole ring surrounded.
I'm like, all right,
I
I'm
thought
like, don't
lumberjack
do
match
this
at
to these
first.
guys. Yeah,
Mhm.
but then I saw when I start seeing some of the current stars come out, I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. Basically, man, did you guys notice Big E was doing? I don't know what he was doing to the ring apron and the way he was acting during this whole segment.
Like a
Mhm.
child.
Oh my gosh, the New Day, the
Yeah,
freaking New Day, man.
Biggie looked like he was trying to seduce inanimate objects. That's what he looked like he was trying to
Swear.
do.
Oh my gosh, but yeah, so we get the segment. Actually, what I thought the segment got right to the point. You got Strowman came out, you had Kane come out. You know what? I know a lot of people talk about it. Paul Heyman, he comes out and cuts the same promo every week, and he has great delivery. But I do agree, it is a lot of the same promos. But I thought Paul Heyman in this promo was really good. It was short. It was to the point, and I like how he's like, nothing in its 25 years history is more relevant than Brock Lesnar, and so I thought it was an excellent job by Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar comes out, and the way Brock Lesnar came and did that clothesline and boom, flew himself and took out Braun Strowman, and then the way he just F5 Kane and then Braun Strowman comes back up and slams him on the table. At first, it like the table wasn't gonna break, and then it did. And Braun Strowman looks like a total monster among men, as they like to call him. I thought the segment was sweet, got to the point, and a good way to get us ready for the triple threat match. Now, granted, this is what they did with the Strowman and Lesnar match. They made Strowman look strong, and then we get to the match and it ends. So I actually don't really got too many high hopes for the triple threat match, but I hope it surprises me. But I felt for the go home and the way they did the go home segment, triple threat, I felt it was straight to the point, did what it needed to do. How about you, the man 0001? How did you like the way they closed the show?
Yeah, I mean, it was a typical, for me, it was just a typical go home segment. And I'm not talking about typical by today's standards, typical. I'm talking about ruthless aggression, attitude era type go home segment. You got all three, you got the competitors out there, they're fighting each other off. Obviously, they're trying to have them get in a little bit more of a physical altercation than for the video package. You know what I mean? And I think this match will definitely deliver. You know what I mean? And plus, it has what Vince McMahon likes in this match. As they say on another YouTube channel, Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. You know,
Oh
you know what I mean?
What
So,
coach? What culture pro wrestling?
what are you talking about?
Was it what culture pro wrestling?
What was it? Was it Hut Culture Wrestling?
I'm just kind of trying to say like the way the Hank Hill is. No, I like those. I like the content they provide
The
though.
the the
Yeah,
the
I
hut
remember King
the
Ross.
the hut the hut. You see, the Hut
Hey, but
Culture.
let's stay focused on topic though.
But yes, but yes, I would say it's the focus on topic. But like, yes, this will be a serviceable match for everyone, and I think it'll be something that we'll all enjoy. It'll be a lot of big men stuff, and it'll be a lot of carnage, and and also you'll see some athletic stuff as well. I believe we'll see that in there, as all three guys are very much capable athletes,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it'll be for that kind of a match. So it's
I
just
agree. I also wish Jim Ross and King would have called this final segment. I think Jim Ross, the way he can get over the top, would have really helped push this segment. Just him yelling at the top of his lungs. So, unfortunately, yeah, it felt like they gave a lot of the good stuff to Cole, Booger, and Corey. I would have loved to see Jim Ross and King call it, but it's like a lot of nostalgia, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first, Matt, do you have anything you want to add about this ending segment?
Ending segment, like Lawrence said, it was what it was basically is for the main event for that title match. You got two monsters and a beast. So you
Hmm.
have three powerhouses in this match, and they were all acting powerful, of course, one trying to outstrong the other. We had people around the ring trying to keep order, and it was utter chaos. And like JR would have really, like you said, called that so well in that moment because
Oh
there were
yeah,
so many
definitely,
pops in that moment that JR could have really let loose on that. I thought
for sure.
thought definitely it's set up pretty well for the match. Even though the match itself is not the best match in the world, I say when it comes to a championship match because we're used to seeing this kind of formula all the time. You have these bigger, stronger guys who are strong enough to go against each other. You see it all the time. I'd just like to see something different under that product, but it's near WrestleMania, so you never know what can happen in the future. Um, but of course, we all know that Brock wins. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
WWE kind of gave themselves away because if you notice in the live commercial, they were talking about taping live in Chicago and everything. They had it where um, Brock was facing Kane March 3rd. I'm like, oh, okay, so Brock is going to keep the title. So there was no
right.
surprise there. But yeah, it was all good. It all worked well for that match.
So basically, getting into it, and yeah, the thing was, I'm just wasn't a big fan of the Brock and Braun match,
Yeah.
nor the matches Kane and Braun have had. So when you put all three of them together, I'm like, I don't know, but hopefully they knock it out of the park, because I am a fan of all three gentlemen. So with that said in mind, final conclusions about this show. Um, at the end of the day, we did not get. I felt a lot as far as the future. Like I would have loved to seen all the older stars help elevate the newer stars, but we did not end up getting that. Not in all the segments for the most part. It felt like a big nostalgia show. Whereas I felt like the 1000 episode of Raw, I felt like they put a lot of good nostalgia on there, but there was a lot that really helped get you really interested, like especially with the ending of how you had the nostalgia of The Rock being back, but they also set the seeds for a CM Punk and Rock match to come.
Right.
Whereas here, I felt like we didn't get a lot for the future show. Like if you were a longtime WWE fan, where you're a fan of the older stuff WWE produced, and you trying to check this show out, like you got all your nostalgia, but I felt like the newer stars weren't showcased in a way that would probably make an older fan, be like, yeah, there's no reason to continue watching WWE. And I think you always want to, nostalgia is good, but you always want to make sure you go ahead and get the newer stars
Right. You want to push
over
them.
for
Right.
people to stay, right? And there wasn't even much
Mm-hmm.
build up I thought we got for the Royal Rumble, and that's one of the biggest shows of the year coming up. So yeah, I mean, we got the final segment. Oscar looks strong, but yeah, I just felt this whole thing was really based on a lot of nostalgia. Like I said, even going back to what we were saying about the Undertaker earlier. So a very nostalgic show. Like I said, it wasn't anything more, nothing less. But for the nostalgia that I got as a longtime WWE fan, it was great to see all this again, compared to what we normally see, the way WWE produces its show nowadays. So for that, I did enjoy the show, but I really would have loved for it to been a show that would use those nostalgia acts to help elevate so many of the newer talent.
Yes.
But we shall see what WWE has in store for us
Mm-hmm.
as we head towards the Royal Rumble. Any final thoughts on the show overall?
Yeah, my final thoughts is this. Raw 25 had cameos, returns, and hype. In a hyped crowd, but nothing of note to really, actually happen to make the Rumble coming up. You know what I mean? It also
Hmm.
made the Rumble look, seem like it was a complete afterthought. Roman versus The Miz, Austin destroying the McMahons. Was we're the highlight of the show. We barely saw any of the Manhattan Center, which is one of the
Hmm.
biggest draws of the show. I'd be pissed if
And
I purchased a
uh,
ticket for that.
yeah, I was gonna say I
Then
feel
the
bad
others,
for the people there.
you know what
I
I
feel
mean?
bad
And
for the people there.
you know what I mean? And of the 3 hours, we probably heard, you heard JR or for less than 25 minutes. And you can find clips on Twitter where, fans were chanting, "We want refunds," or "We got something." You know what I mean? Raw 1000, was much better than this show. Raw
True.
1000 had, Brian and AJ Lee's, marriage with a slick cameo. We saw CM Punk do his heel turn against The Rock. We saw Vince McMahon made AJ Lee the general manager of Raw. We saw Heath Slater get beat up by Alita and all of the other legends there, including Sid. Which made sense since his at the time his gimmick was to be destroyed by the legends. Raw 1000 had stuff that actually happened that progressed the storylines that were happening on that night forward. Whereas
Right, a good blend
tonight,
of both.
whereas tonight we had some cameos, some returns. Again, nothing of note. But outside of Roman versus Miz, nothing actually happened to progress the story forward. If meaningless pops is what you are into, and if that's what you wanted, then it's just this is the show for you. But my main issue with the show is this show is it came off as nostalgia. A nostalgia show. And the thing is, Raw 1000, Hour right there was a really good show. And it advanced stories forward. Whereas Raw 25, it exposed the unengaging, how unengaging the current product is. It exposed a lot of the weaknesses and pitfalls of what today's WWE product has become, and it exposed everything. It's like you see all of these characters. Everyone walking around is generic, is generic, unengaging, and uneventful, and it's just, all around, boring with just a few characters in there that are really good. And that's one of my biggest gripes with this show. It's just like come on now, give me something that's going to advance the future. I mean,
Right.
yes, it's good to have nostalgia acts on every now and then, but come on now, give me something that's gonna, that's gonna make the future seem brighter. You know, you know what I mean? So, that's one of the more depressing things about this show is it showed you how good things once were and how we will never ever go back to how good things are. Yeah, so
Mm.
I agree, dude. When you start off the show with how hot it was with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who we know was the top guy 20 years ago, and then we go to Roman Reigns. I mean, just compare Steve Austin's entrance tonight to
Best
Roman
comparison
Reigns'
right
entrance
there.
tonight, and that's who they're trying to make the top guy. Like it's night and day, man. Night and day. And I'm gonna also just wanted to add to your point, man, 0001 is that I feel sorry for those that brought the Manhattan Center because man, they really didn't get much at all. Like wow. So yikes, man. I can't blame them. I don't even know if WWE even put what they advertised on the marquee and everything. But before we go into plugs, Matt, I'll let you. What are your final thoughts on the show?
The show itself, it's basically homage to basically the whole entire span of legacy from the beginning to now. Um, and hearing you both talk, it makes a lot of sense that, yeah, it really does show how things have changed and how things are not going to be the same that they were 15, 20 years ago. It's not going to be the way that they were. And that was constantly, you can constantly see it tonight because there was no real push for other talent, younger talent than the older talent that is now. Um, so it made me feel like, okay, well, it's good to see everyone is still good, everyone is still healthy, after all these years. But the newer talent, they're just, you know, they're just there. They get built over time, of course, some of them do, but they'll never stack up to how it was before because leadership has changed, things have changed backstage, people have changed, rules have changed, so it's definitely not going to be the same.
Yeah, well, we've gone over 90 minutes. So, if you guys out there listen to this that long, we greatly appreciate it. So, yeah, like I said, final verdict from it sounds like all three of us. If you're a casual fan, or a old time WWE fan that used to watch back in the day, you'll probably like the nostalgia of this show, but it won't give you much reason to why you would want to watch. And
Right.
I think if you're hardcore fans like us that do continue to watch or at least keep up with the product, it's really good for us to get reminded of why we loved wrestling so much. And then it's gonna be like, moving forward, like we're gonna another painful reminder of how we wish things could be in terms of just having characters. And none of us, I know, don't want the Attitude Era back, but I always
Right.
say I like the excitement of the Attitude Era to come back. I like to see those characters and those better story developments and everything, and all those matches that have a consequence to them and mean and have meaning to them, and they're not just put out there. But it is what it is. We still have the Royal Rumble to look forward to this Sunday. It is a big show, and we shall conclude here with plugs. Man, 0001, do you have any plugs you like to put out?
the man 0001, and my page is on my page is on YouTube. If you want to see any videos, I don't have any videos up right now, but in the future I may make some videos. I don't have anything else I want to plug online. You know, um, what I mean, other than go out there and have fun in life and treat each other well. And if you disagree, just agree to disagree and move on and enjoy this life. Because you only get one. And continue to watch wrestling. Continue to watch wrestling and. If you have a drink in your hand, no matter what your beverage is, here's to 25 more years of Monday Night Raw, and may the future look bright, and may the future be well. So I feel bad for these superstars, these wrestlers nowadays.
Well said. Matt, do you have any plugs?
Don't really have any YouTube plugs right now, but I do plan on making a YouTube channel very soon. I do have an Instagram. It's Ginger Wolf, Ginger Wolf, WOLVE at Instagram. That's really the only place I upload my artwork and other stuff. So that's really the one place you can see me publicly online.
And as for me, you guys, make sure to subscribe right here to my YouTube, followed by clicking that notification bell so that you are notified as soon as I release a new video. We'll be back with more wrestling reviews, starting with the Royal Rumble this Sunday. Now, also, make sure if you're an anime fan, check out my channel. I have currently right now some Dragon Ball Super reviews, as well as a short film I've been working on that is inspired from anime, so definitely make sure to check all that out. All the links to everything we just mentioned will be in the description below. Until then, everyone, take care.